Hey guys, Manoj Agarwal here. So I was going through some stats. I check on data and I look at stats about what people are thinking, what is the general sentiment. And surprisingly, what I found was in the US at least, only 31% of the people are concerned about the infection from coronavirus, and more than 58%, I think even around 60% people are more worried about the economic fallout and um, how they are going to change their life, or get through this pandemic in an okay state and take care of their family, take care of their household and business. So what I was thinking is, people have different concerns, and obviously this is a very stressful situation. But some people, they are more concerned about money. Some people are more concerned about fame. Some people are more concerned about finding relationships, love in their life, and some people are concerned about health. So when I was sort of putting it all together and thinking about this, it is clear that people want different things in life based on where they are. But I was trying to figure out, is there a sort of comprehensive methodology that can be adopted that can lead to all these things no matter what you want at what stage in your life? And so as I was putting it together, came up with this blue flow chart. Being an engineer, tried to gather some data on my own life, some of other successful people that I know, how they built their empires and how they reach to wherever they are. And I started finding patterns on how this can be implemented in a practical way in anybody's life. And so this is the flowchart I shared a few days ago. I have a little bit more details, so I'll walk you through this so that you can get a sense of how this can be implemented anywhere in anybody's life. So as we know, this is some of you may already be aware of how this all works. So let me quickly walk through that from the bottom up. So some of you understand that our thoughts are basically raw materials for whatever physical experiences we have in our lives. And those thoughts, when we think them over and over again and we believe them, we start believing them, they become beliefs. So these are beliefs, are like almost like statements that we understand to be true no matter what. And every piece of information that we process in our life goes through these filters, which are called beliefs. So if I don't believe drinking water is good for me, then I will probably not even listen to any evidence that is related to drinking water. But if I believe that drinking water is beneficial for me, then I will drink gallons of it, even if it makes me sick, right? So these are some of the core beliefs. And then out of those beliefs comes self-awareness. You start to understand the world from your perspective, and what is important to you. And then comes, through that self-awareness comes the desires for money, fame, love, health, inner growth. So these are the levels where most people live. And there's not to me, I don't need to say that there is anything wrong in staying in this area. But once you have conquered all these four components, you can actually move on to the next level. There are two more levels you can move on to. But if you're happy staying here, that's fine. But the key problem here is, when I learned from my mentors, coaches, when I read the books, when I studied the religions of the world, they all sort of said similar things, but it was quite cryptic in the sense, how do I take that and implement it step by step in my life, right? And that had been my frustration for a long, long time, that it all sounds good, but what do I do tomorrow to implement this in my life? So when I was thinking about this, I put it together, and then I came up with um, and it's still quite raw right now. So I came up with a blueprint, a step-by-step process of how all these can be implemented in one's life. So I'll obviously, this is still raw, but I just wanted to share um, the work in progress and possibly get some feedback from you. So I know fulfillment is something, it's personal for everyone, and it may not even mean a lot for a lot of people. But I just wanted to go through the flow chart from the top down, because as I said, going from the bottom up refining your thoughts, looking at your beliefs. It is very confusing. It sometimes takes lifetimes to go from the bottom up and not get lost in the whole maze of life. So if we start from the top down, things become a little bit more easier. So if I look at fulfillment, how I define it, it's more like, it's not something where we think fulfillment is all about happiness. It's also about um, just taking the negatives of life and just being okay with that. For example, in this pandemic situation, if you are certain that everything will be okay, then it will not cloud your judgment. It will not sort of depress you. But moving down a couple of levels, this is the part where most people are concerned, especially right now in the economic fallout of the pandemic, and even in peace times, in regular times. How do we make a lot of money? How do we become rich? And This is sort of the flowchart where I'm going in terms of what money and fame means, right? So when we look at it, money and fame boils down to producing some value in society and exchanging it for money. And fame is all about being well known and trusted in society. And here are some blocks that I have determined why people fail to get there, fail to make the money, or accomplish the goals that they have set up for themselves, because they don't have a specific target. Most people, when you talk to them and say, hey, what do you want to achieve in life, they just say, I want to make $1 million, but they have no idea what they want to do with that $1 million. Why do they want $1 million? And in most cases, that $1 million was not even their original idea. Somebody just planted in their head that, if you make $1 million, it's going to be good for you. So no specific target. Imitating role models. So in most cases, we look at somebody who's successful and they're getting all the recognition, adulation from society, and so we want to be like that, uh, like this person, and we lose our own identity. We don't really know whether this will be the right step for us to follow this role model or not. Lack of direction. So this is all linked. So we are sort of we keep going in circles because we are not following our true path, our the path that we are supposed to take. Um, and uh, and that leads to frustration, that leads to no results showing up in your life, right? And how do we earn money and fame in a consistent manner, and compress the time frame to acquire that wealth and fame? So obviously, in order to do that, we need to observe and figure out where do we fit, what kind of problems are existing in the world, where can we help and solve those problems. And um, once we figure out, okay, this is what people need, we need to produce it. We need to find the prospects and see, who may be interested in our solution. We need to sell that product or service and support it and make sure that it actually solves the problem. Um, and and basically that wheel needs to continue to grow so that you can get more income, more revenue, whether you are a professional earning a salary or you are entrepreneur selling your product or service, right? So this is a very basic stuff that most people understand. But now comes the practical implementation, which is how do you build wealth. I'm not talking about, like, a few $1,000s just to get by. I'm talking about generational wealth. So there are two ways to do that. One way is easy because you win the genetic lottery and you are born into wealth, right? So you are set for life, and not much to be done there. But if you're not born into wealth, how do you build wealth? Is by solving the problems of the wealthy. Because let's face it, as humans, we all have problems. Arguably speaking, the wealthy have even more problems than people who don't have wealth, right? But the problem is that, um, if you go and try and solve their problem, it's kind of hard to, for the lack of a better word, infiltrate that camp, right? To get in there and try to understand their problems, because it's not easy to get into this camp and win the trust of people, because they will not let you in and share their problems unless they trust you. So how do you trust that? How do you earn that trust? Is by building your credibility, by building your brand, by amplifying that brand. And this is only possible if you are hyper self-aware, you accept who you are able to share, your authentic story. Because let's face it, everybody has a story behind their life. And wherever you are, whatever stage you are in your life, um, we have gone through some challenges in our lives. And when you go through challenges, things happen. Some things are positive, some things are negative. We do things which we are not proud of, or things happen to us which sort of give us all these negative emotions of shame and guilt and whatnot. And those are the things which prevent us from sharing our true story with the world. And then we start to make up our story. We start to build a persona that sort of resonates, that we think resonates with other people. We amplify our lofty title: CEO, founder, senior vice president of sales, executive chairman, blah blah blah, right? Which is supposed to build the trust in other people. But all it is saying is, who am I, what I have done. It is a very me centric approach. But if you share your true story, if you have the courage to share your true story, that's what builds trust. And then people in this camp can let you in. They can start sharing their problems. Now you can start to solve those problems, and that can lead to true generational wealth. And by the way, if you are able to share your authentic story, and you are able to become so self-aware and accept yourself, that also build fame, which is basically just a byproduct of this exercise. So you can see, this is a step-by-step process which can be implemented on your own, or it can be implemented with the help of some professionals who have done it before. But the idea here is that this is something that can be implemented in multiple areas of your life. There are things that you can consider for your mental and physical health. What are the blocks, what are the barriers that come in between you and attaining the ideal health that you want? There are blocks between you and the love and relationship that you seek. There are steps on how you can actually come into a state where you attract the right kind of relationships and foster the ones that you have already. And there's a huge step in inner growth, which is come in alignment with yourself. So you can see, this is a whole blueprint, step-by-step blueprint that can be implemented in your life, to build the kind of life that you want, and enjoy the time that you have on this planet. It's not about all this. It's not all about attaining inner peace and inner growth and all that stuff. That sounds good. I mean, I'm passionate about it, but the reason why I talk about that is because it leads to the actual things people want, right? Love, relationships, health, and money and fame. So this is something that I've been working on. I've been putting together. We'd love to get your feedback. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if it makes sense, or if you think this is totally too good to be true or sounds too ridiculous, whatever feedback that you have, please drop it in the comments, so that we know whether we are going down the right track, whether this is something that may be helpful to you or not. Based on that feedback, we can try to add or remove some of the components that may or may not be relevant. Or if it is totally irrelevant to you, this is something that you're not interested in at all, please do let us know, so that we don't waste our time building this if nobody's interested in that. So I hope you will be able to provide some feedback. And if you do want us to walk through some more components of this blueprint and share what this all entails, please do provide that feedback as well, and we'll be happy to schedule a webinar or something along those lines to walk through this blueprint. But the idea here is that we give you what exactly you need. Meaning, if you just need the information and you want to implement it on your own, that's good. But if you need some help in implementing it in your life, we can help you there as well. So I hope that makes sense. Please, I look forward to everyone's feedback. In the meantime, stay healthy, stay happy, and see you soon. Thanks. Bye.